Hello out there in TV land.
Do y'all remember the time our girl Chelsea chose a man over Raven? Let's get into it. So the episode starts off with Chelsea being in her feelings about this old ass tree that the school is about to cut down. Chelsea really loves this tree. She has even given it a nickname. She calls it Old Okie. Y'all know Chelsea is real environmental. She cares about the planet. She would hate to see where the earth is right now. Then Raven and Eddie walk into the classroom and Chelsea goes over to them and she says, "Can y'all believe that they're about to get rid of Old Okie?" Raven don't know what the hell a Old Okie is. She says, "Oh my god, they're about to get rid of the school nurse." Needless to say, Raven and Eddie don't give a damn about this tree, so this leaves room for this dude to show up and show how much he cares about Old Okie. He has a name in the episode, but I know him as Phil of the Future, so that's what I'm gonna call him. Anywho, Phil of the Future slides in and he says that without trees, we would destroy our whole ecosystem, you know, speaking Chelsea's language. Chelsea and Phil of the Future start shaking hands and you can see that there's a bit of an instant connection between the two. Chelsea turns to Eddie and Raven. She says, "At least somebody gets it." Then the teacher walks in and she tells everybody to sit down and Raven has already peeped the energy between Chelsea and Phil of the Future, so she tells Chelsea to go sit down beside him. Now we're at Raven's house where Raven, Chelsea, and Tanya, Raven's mom, are gushing over Phil of the Future. Chelsea talks about how much she likes him and she says that he's going to help her save Old Okie. Chelsea is still trying to figure out how she's going to get people to actually care about Old Okie, and this is when Tanya tells her that maybe she should start a petition. Chelsea says that it's a good idea and she turns to Raven and says maybe we should start on this tomorrow. But like I said, Raven doesn't give a damn about that tree, so she's like, "Well, no, I'm going shopping tomorrow." Raven says that there's going to be this big monster sale at the shoe shack and Chelsea asks her which is more important, shoes or trees, and Raven says, "See, I know the answer you want to hear, but shoes." Then Chelsea says, "Fine, I bet Phil of the Future will help me." Now we're at school the next day, and keep in mind that we're at school the next day, so it is day 2. Keep that in mind. So we're at school the next day where Chelsea has on a big shirt and she's having people sign her petition that's on the back of the shirt. And Phil of the Future is there beside her side helping her. Like I said, it's only been 2 days, but you can see that the connection between Chelsea and Phil of the Future is getting deeper. He's tickling her in the hallways and he's laying his game down quite flat. He's speaking Chelsea's language again. Chelsea asks him how does he feel about animals and he says, "I love them," and she says, "Me too." And Chelsea says, "I'm a vegetarian," and Phil of the Future says, "Me too." Chelsea says, "So wait, you would never eat an animal?" And Phil of the Future basically says, "Hell nah."
Don't speak of meat.
Chelsea tells Phil of the Future that she'll be right back and she goes over to Raven and Eddie and she starts gushing over him some more. She says he's funny, he's sensitive, he loves the planet, and most importantly, he's a vegetarian like her. Raven tells her, "Girl, if he's so perfect, why you over here in eye face? Get back over there with him." And she does, and Raven and Eddie are happy as hell for Chelsea. Eddie says it's nice to see Chelsea so happy, and Raven says, yeah, he seems like the perfect guy for her. But then Raven has a vision. Why the fuck she see Phil of the Future eating some ribs?
These are the best ribs in town.
So homeboy has been capping. Raven tells Eddie that Jake's no vegetarian, he was grubbing on a rack of ribs. It's been 2 days. 2 days. Anyways, Eddie tells Raven that they gotta tell Chelsea that Phil of the Future been capping. Raven says they can't do that because Chelsea is crazy about him. Eddie and Raven end up deciding that if they're going to tell Chelsea, then they need to go to her with some proof, so they decide that they're going to try to catch Phil of the Future in the act. Eddie says that there are 47 rib joints in San Francisco and they plan on checking them all. They must really love Chelsea. Now we're at the Chill Grill, Raven's daddy restaurant, where Raven and Eddie are talking about how they went to all those rib joints and there was no sign of Phil of the Future. Raven says that they still don't have any evidence that Phil of the Future lied to Chelsea, but then he walks right past them, picking meat out of his teeth. Eddie says, "Wait a minute, your daddy don't sell ribs. If he did, I would know that." But turns out that Victor then put a rib special on the menu. Raven goes over to her daddy who's picking up a plate of ribs and she asks him was Phil of the Future the one that was just eating them. And this man says that he can't tell her, talking about some chef customer confidentiality. Then Chelsea walks in and she's sad because she turned in her petition and they're still going to cut down Old Okie. She's sitting there moping and she says, "You know who's really going to be bummed out about this? Phil of the Future." Then Raven says, "Well, girl, speaking of him, do you know where he was tonight? Chelsea says, yeah, he went to the health food store to get food for his family. This is when Raven decides to go ahead and tell Chelsea the truth. She tells Chelsea that she had a vision and she saw Phil of the future eating some ribs. Immediately, Chelsea is like, well, no, that's ridiculous. He's a vegetarian. Eddie said, Chelsea, he just walked out of here and look at the special. Raven says he was covered in barbecue sauce and there was a big pile of ribs on his plate. And Chelsea says, well, did you actually see this? Raven says, no, it was my vision. And Chelsea cuts her off and says,
I really like this guy and you want me to break up with him just because you kind of sort of see into the future.
Just because you kind of sort of see into the future. Just because you kind of sort of see into the future. Bitch. Raven tells Chelsea, I saw your boyfriend kind of sort of grubbing on a baby back rib. Then Chelsea tells Eddie and Raven, okay, now y'all are really starting to make me mad. Raven tells her, you can't be mad at us, girl. He's the one who's been capping. Eddie says if he's lying about this, what else could he be lying about? And Raven says, I can't believe you don't trust us. Then Chelsea hits them with that, why should I trust y'all? Y'all don't care about old Okie. Y'all don't care about Phil of the future. And you know what? I'm starting to think that y'all don't care about me. Chelsea. Now we're at school and Chelsea is standing 10 toes in the mud behind her man. She comes up to Eddie and Raven with a whole lot of animosity. Like, she not even addressing Eddie by his name. She calls this man Edmund and he says it's Edward and she says whatever. You should be happy that I said your name at all. Chelsea. Raven says, Chelsea, we're just trying to help you. I mean, if Phil of the future is a liar, then you could get hurt. But Chelsea ain't hearing that shit. She tells Eddie and Raven that she's moving into Phil of the future's locker until she can find a new one. Raven and Eddie are perplexed. Raven says, I can't believe you're lockering up with some dude that you just met. But Chelsea says, unlike you two, he's 100% committed to me and old Okie. And she walks off on them, child. Now that I'm looking at it, Raven has had like 4 outfit changes. So I'm gonna assume it's been like 4 or 5 days at this point. Anyways, now we're in the classroom where we see Phil of the future tell the teacher that he's not feeling well and she gives him a pass to go to the nurse. Raven leans over to Eddie and she says, you think he's really sick? And Eddie says, it wouldn't be the first time he's lied. Then we find out that Chelsea is really on one because now she got her ass sent up in old Okie talking about this is a part of her protest. Her and Phil of the future are going to sit in that tree until they promise not to cut it down. Raven says Phil of the future is on his way to the nurse. Chelsea says, yeah, Raven, that's all a part of the plan. She says that the nurse is going to send Phil of the future home and he's going to come right up there in that tree and sit with her. You'll see. Raven tells Chelsea, okay, bitch, if you want to sit your slow ass up in this tree waiting for this dude, do that then. Well, she didn't say all that, but she should've. At this point, you can't tell Chelsea shit about her man. I mean, look at her face. You can't tell her shit about Phil of the future right now. Now we're back at the Chill Grill where Raven says that she feels really bad for leaving Chelsea up in that tree. And Eddie says, well, we don't know. Phil of the future could have climbed up there after school. And Raven says, yeah, maybe my vision was wrong. I didn't actually see him eating the ribs. And at first Eddie is like, yeah, until he looks over and what does he see?
Look at him greasing on those baby backs.
Then Eddie and Raven go over and confront Phil of the future and Eddie asks him why he's not up there in that tree and he says, well, Chelsea's cute, but she's not tree climbing cute. Phil of the future basically tells Eddie that, hey, you're a guy, you know how it is when you want to get with a girl, you gotta tell them what they want to hear. Even in the Disney universe, these men ain't shit. Anyways, Eddie ends up getting Chelsea's get back by spraying barbecue sauce all over Phil of the future's clothes. And he tells him to get on before he gets hickory smoked somewhere. After all of that, Raven turns to Eddie and she says, you know what we have to do. They go and climb up in that tree with Chelsea. Couldn't be me. Chelsea asks them what they're doing there and Raven says, girl, Phil of the future's not coming. And Chelsea says, well, I kind of figured that when I saw the nurse go home. Poor child. Then Raven and Eddie let her know that this time they actually did see Phil of the future with their own eyes eating ribs at the Chill Grill. Chelsea is looking real pitiful in the face now, as she should, and she tells Eddie and Raven that she was just so excited about meeting a guy that she had so much in common with. She was a jerk and she should have listened to them. Then Raven and Eddie cheer Chelsea up by telling her that no, Phil of the future was the jerk and that he missed out on a really great girl. Then the episode basically ends with Eddie and Raven deciding that they're going to stay up in old Okie with Chelsea, but the tree ends up snapping because of tree rot, so it comes down anyway. Then they plant a new one at the end. Yeah. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Anytime I rewatch That's So Raven, which I do quite a lot because it's one of my comfort shows, I'm always baffled by the audacity of Chelsea in this episode. She told Raven, I really like this guy, and you want me to break up with him just because you kinda sorta see into the future. Just because you kinda sorta see into the future? Just because you kinda sorta see into the future, Chelsea, how dare you? Ooh, the audacity in this episode. Anyways, I want to take a moment to appreciate Raven's outfits in this episode. Oh my gosh, she was eating. It was so hard for me not to say something about it. Ooh, the eatery. It was magnificent. It was crazy. She is truly my fashion icon. Love Raven Baxter down.